Good day, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today we will be talking about formulas and validation, which is a very important topic for your platform Dev 1 certification. So we will be talking about formula fields, we'll be talking about roll-up summary fields, and we will be creating a basic validation rule. Sounds cool, right? Let's dive in. First thing first, you need to log into your org. You can create simple developer org, or if you're using Sandbox, please feel free to use that as well. But please make sure, do not try this on your production org, right? Okay, so as usual, I'm gonna use Trailhead. So big shout out to Trailhead team for creating amazing content. So we're gonna use the formula field first, right? So you must be wondering, why do we need a formula field, right? So every object has their own field, right? We can create a custom field, or it comes with a standard field. So why do we need a formula field, right? So think about the scenario, right? Let me give you a practical scenario based on a custom object what I have on this org. So that will make you, much aware about the usage of formula fields. So we think about a scenario. You have a custom object, right? And you wanted to do some sort of calculation based on multiple fields, right? So the best way to do that is use a formula field, because you can go to formula editor and you can add or subtract or multiply, or you can use validation because you can do case statement, you can do if statement, right? You can do if amount is greater than 10, then do this, else do this, something like that, So you can do calculations, you can bring in name from a separate object. Say, for instance, you have a custom object which is linked to another object, and if you wanted to do a SOQL query in a custom object, but at the same time you do need the value source of the linked object, right? So you can do that using a formula field, or you can do that even in a query as well, but just to make it simple. And you can use the formula fields in your report, right? Sometimes you wanted to show calculated fields, right? So that's where the formula fields comes very handy. What I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate based on a very simple real life experience. We have created a fictitious, a dummy custom object, right? So because my org is associated with the brewery, because this is my fictitious company, and I have this object called the porter beer, which actually collects information about the porter beers, right? You know porter beers, right? We have different kinds of beers: lager, pilsner, porter, ale, Pacifica ale. So I can go on for ages, because I'm a big beer fan. I brew my own beer. So all right, sorry, I digress. So Porter, few names we just very we got. You can put whatever name you want, right? So Baltica Porter, you can put, or English have different kinds of porters, right? So let's not get into the nutty gritty details of the beers. So let's focus on formula field. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we go to Object Manager, right? And so we have this called porter beer. So we have different fields here, very few fields. So we got this is called porter amount and quantity. So the requirement is to have a total amount as a formula field, which does calculation on quantity and porter amount, multiply them together to give us the total amount. So porter amount is the base price of a beer. Let's say XYZ porter or Baltica porter, which is a Russian porter, costs us, like, say, $3.99 New Zealand dollar in Wellington, right? And you, or let's say $4 just to round off, right? And the quantity is $10. Sorry, $10. I'm sorry, my apologies. Quantity is 10 bottles of beers. And the amount is $4, right? So the total amount works out to be 10 times 4, that is $40, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to create a formula field which takes quantity and multiply to porter amount to give us the total amount, right? Let's get started. So the way to create a formula field is pretty much similar to your regular field. So you go to new, and let's go to formula here. You pick and choose the formula here, and you got different data types here. So for now, we're gonna focus on currency because we're dealing with amounts, right? So we're gonna do name it as total amount. So for some reason it was, I've used it for some other reason before. So okay, so field and field name, right? And then go to next. And so this is where you will do most of your magic. I mean, you will write your formula here, right? And we got two kinds of editor. One is the simple formula one, and where you have limiter options, and another one is advanced formula options, right? So I would encourage you to focus on this more because you get more options, like you have insert field, you have insert operator, which is usually your add subtract operations, right? And operators. And we have functions on the right hand side. You have different functions, and even you get help documentation around what this is for and what does begin means. You know, you can go through all of this, right? It just, and you can even shortlist based if you wanted to see only associated with the date and time, you can do that. And you know, it's a nice interface, and it gives you a lot of flexibility, right? And if you wanted to know more about it, you can always go to help for this page, right? So our requirement is to multiply quantity with an amount, right? So what we're gonna do, go to insert field. So I don't know the name of the API name of quantity, so I can actually search for it, which is very handy feature. So as I said, go to insert field. So our object is porter beer, right? So you go to quantity, right? And you see this is the API name. So, but I don't know, I don't remember. So you know, you don't have to remember anything because Salesforce gives you the flexibility. You can pick and choose, right? So you go insert, and now we're gonna do insert operator. We're gonna multiply, and then now we gotta multiply with amount, right? And so go insert, and let's look at the syntax, because sometimes what happens, you might make syntax error. You might make a mistake on syntax because more if you decide to type it by yourself, right, instead of relying on point and click option, then you might miss a character here and there, right? So this is the best way to see if you got your syntax right. So you see no syntax error, so we're good to go. And click on next, and make it visible to all, because I don't want it to you know, go to different settings, and you know, we just wanted to keep it very simple because the topic is not about you know, the profiles or anything. It's just only about formula fields. If you're interested in profiles and all, I've created a separate video. Please go through that. Okay, click on next and save, right? So we have created our formula fields. Now let's dive into the actual object so that we can start populating. Okay, so we got a porter, and so we're gonna go to let's see, we got no data here, right? So let's go to new. Let's say Baltica, porter amount, that's the base price, let's say $4, and company we're selling to United Oil, and quantity, let's say 100 bucks, 100 quantity, sorry. So 100 bottles of Baltica we've been shipping to United Oil and Gas Corporation. Fancy name, right? There you go. So total amount sold, 400 bucks. So this is where the formula fields comes to the picture. It automatically calculated the amount for you based on the quantity and the base price, right? So let's add one more information, one more record. Let's say XYZ, right? This is fancy porter name. It costs you 10 bucks. And we're shipping to the same company, and the quantity is 19, right? Okay, 190 bucks. So we created these two stuff, right? So this is how the formula fields work. You can, if you remember, I've used currency data, so you can use the other data type as well, right? So you can do a lot of complex operation in the formula. Formulas can go. So for instance, I'll show you how far you can do stuff here. If you go to here, you see you can do a lot of stuff here. You know, you can see length, you can do right. There are different functions here. You can see on the right hand side of the formula editor. And the good thing is that when you click on that specific function, you will actually see the help underneath, so which is very handy. And you can use multiple if statements. You can do amazing stuff. I mean, I've written pretty complex formulas, so so I don't want to dive into that. I just wanted to understand why the formula field is used, and formula field is read only, right? So please keep that into mind. And also, when you are doing an Apex code, right? Let's say object A equals to new object, right? And if you say a dot formula field equals to, you will get an error because formula fields are read-only fields, right? And formula fields are very handy when you want to use in a report, right? Because you can see a calculator field appearing in your report. Very handy feature, right? Okay, so now we have created a formula field. Formula fields usually associated with a single record, right? Now imagine you wanted to see the sum of a related entries. So for instance, let me go to account, right? United Oil Goods Corporation, right? So let's go to related. Now we got a beer, Porter, right? Porter beers. Porter beer and account is like shares a master detail relationship. So what we want is that the sum of amount to be displayed somewhere in the detail section, right? To say that the sum of Porter beer sold, right? Say whatever amount. So that's where the roll-up summary comes into picture, right? So this is something I wanted to, so roll-up summary field. So roll-up summary fields, right? It actually sums up. You have different functions there. Is if you wanted to the total, or if you wanted to total the information around the related objects, right? Then you use the roll-up summary fields. That's where, because you can't use formula field. Formula field is usually applicable to one record, right? So if you look at here, see, formula fields calculates value using fields within a single record. Roll-up field calculates value from a set of related records, right? That's what I wanted to demonstrate here. So what we're going to do, we're going to do sum of these two, because right now we have only two. I mean, if you have 10, it will do the sum of 10. So we're going to create a roll-up summary field, right? So the way to do that is pretty similar like you did a formula field. So let's go to setup, and let's go to the account object, because we're going to have to do on the master. We can't do on the child, right? Because the reason why I'm saying is that, let's say if you're not sure about it, you decided to create a roll-up summary field on the Porter. It doesn't make any sense, but just to give you a context, what happens if you try to do that? It won't let you. So I just wanted to demonstrate, right? Because you can make mistakes, it's fine. You know, that's how you learn. So you see, it's disable, right? So you can't do that. So you got to go to the parent, the master object, right? And then you do new, do roll-up summary, click on next, and then say sum of, right, beer. Just put whatever name you want. You can find a minimum, maximum, you see, or count. So for now, so these are the types you can do. So I'm gonna, so you got to select an object. So I'm gonna choose, these are related objects, right, to the count. So I'm gonna choose, you can do count, or you can do, I'm gonna do sum. I'm gonna do sum of total amount, right? And then gonna keep the options default rest. Click on next, and I'm just gonna make it visible to all. Click on next and save, right? So we created a roll-up summary. So what will happen now, it will do a sum of total amount on all the record of the Porter beer object, right? We got two records here, right? The one we created, and one is for $400, one is for $190, right? So it will sum up to get those two entries and display the value there, right? So let's go jump into account. Okay, let's go to, what are we gonna do? Gonna refresh it. Hopefully the field will be added to the page layout. Let's see details. If not, we're gonna go to page layout and see. So, let's see if it's not there. Let's see if it's there. Okay, right. What we're gonna do, let's go to count. Let's try that again. If not, we're gonna look at a page layout to see what happened. That's not a problem. It's not there. So let's go to object here. And we're gonna go to edit page. Oh, sorry, not edit page, my bad. Sorry, it's been a long day, but let's go to, this is how we troubleshoot just in case if something don't show up. So it's a very good way to learn, right? And so go to page layout and accounts. So I presume I've named that as sum. Okay, summer beer. Okay, so summer beer is there. Okay, so let's see why we were not able to see that. Right. Which is interesting though. Let's see mark pub. Alright, what we're gonna do, right? Maybe I'm not seeing it properly. So we're gonna add this, take this and put it at the top, right? And we're gonna save. And let's look at it again. Visible only, edit only. And I hope that it will be visible. If not, we'll find out why, right? That's because, let's look at, this is account. I'm sure I'm looking at the right org. That means it's not there. Okay, so let's see why it's not there, right? So let's go to look at which org is previewing, right? And let me look at here. All right, and let's see. Assign account layout. That's the one that's previewed, which is kind of a bit strange. And this is read only, right? And let's see, properties. Okay, that's good. And can we move this to highlight panel? No, leave it. Okay, so what we're gonna do, okay, that's fine, not a problem. So we're gonna go to count again. For whatever reason, it's not refreshing. Doesn't make sense, but right. So let's give you all just details. That doesn't. Okay, let me do one more thing, right? This doesn't make sense. It's exciting because we're getting an opportunity to troubleshoot. When things doesn't work, That's perfectly fine. Summer beer. Now, edit. And data owner. I don't care about the data owners for now. Right, and cancel. Doesn't make sense. It's an account. It's a porter beer. It's the name. Set field level security. I just made it visible to all of it. Okay, that's fine. That's all good. Let's see. Okay. What we're gonna do, just to make our job a bit easier. See, when it's not, okay. There's some kind of register going on, okay. So we're gonna create one more. Let's say test, which is a bit weird. 10 details, right? And okay, let's see. Let's see if I got a beer. All right. Just no. That's not how it is. Okay, so what we're gonna do, all right, just a second. So I really didn't mean to expect this will take this much time, but that's all good. Let's see if I can log into as a different user and see if I can see any difference there. Let me log in as a test. Account. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that kind of freezes my org, which is not what I was expecting, but that's fine. Auckland Pub, that's all good. And let's go to details. And there you go, we can see now. Which is interesting though, right? Okay, so this is very interesting. Maybe I need to log off, I don't know. Because it never happened to me before. Now we can see, right? You see? Now I can see the beer information stuff, which is a bit strange. Okay, alright, that's fine. So now it refreshed. So sorry about that, it took some time. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate. So it took some time too. So sometimes it happens, and yeah, never mind. So let's move on. So we have done the roll-up summary here, right? And so the roll-up summary, as usual, as I mentioned to you, that we're gonna be adding, or you can do min or max or count of the related objects, and then it shows that information onto your parent object, right? So that's fantastic. Okay, so now the last topic I wanted to cover about the validation rule. So the validation rule is very important. And if you're talking about the validation rule, why do we need a validation rule, right? The first thing, the first reason why you need a validation rule to make sure you have a right data that goes into your object, right? To ensure the data integrity. That's the main reason. Because for instance, let's say similar a porter beer, right? You do not want any salespeople to put an amount less than $2 when you as a base price, right? Let's say that's your business requirement. You do not want any salesperson to put the base price of any beer your brewery sells less than $2, right? Don't, I mean, you can trust your salespeople, but you know, we are humans. We make mistake, right? As a human being, we tend to, you know, we sometimes make mistake. If you're too tired, we might, you know, slip in few numbers. Sometimes we accidentally put point two. You know, it can happen, right? So the only way you can enforce is using a validation rule, right? So validation rule will make sure when you save information, it will break. It will give you an error saying that please enter amounts greater than $2 or something, right? Just to give you a context, right? You can add a complex validation rule if you want, but we're gonna stick to very basic. So our business requirement is, if you are going to sell a beer, right? Your base price should always be greater than $2, right? It can never be less than 2 or less than 2, right? So let's dive in. So the first thing first, so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna log out as test, right? And let's go to setup, and let's go to object of the porter, which is the porter beer one. Now, if you look at the left hand side information, right, you will see something called validation rule, right? This is where you should be focusing on. Triggers are something different. I will cover triggers in the later lectures, because trigger can be, you know, you need to write an Apex code when you're dealing with triggers, right? And this is very interesting. I mean, even you are a functional consultant, you can write Apex code. So, you know, after triggers, there are a lot of things you need to keep into consideration when you're dealing with triggers. We'll deal with that when we talk about triggers, right? Sorry, I digress. So let's go to validation rule, right? As you can see, you know, there's no validation rule on this specific object. There might be time when you got multiple validation rules. So yeah, so go to new, and let's say amount, right? Amount validation. So what we're gonna do, so we just have to say insert field, amount, base amount, porter amount. If it's less than equals to 2, so what's gonna happen, please enter amount greater than 2. Means if you enter the information, if your amount entered is less than or equal to 2, then it will throw this error message. You can write a fancy error message, that's up to you. So save, right? So now we have created a validation rule. It's as simple as that. It's on it's like writing a simple formula, right? So let's go back again. You see, you remember that when we were in the formula field editor, you can see, you have seen advanced or simple. So it's like an advanced editor. So we have insert field, and we have insert operator, and we have all these functions, right? So you can write pretty complex formulas here, right? But for now, our requirement is to do a very simple formula, right? Okay. So let's dive in and do save. Okay, so we have created a validation rule, pretty straightforward. Now let's go to the same object and go to porter beers, and let's see what happens if you try to put the base price as less than 2 or 2, right? Go to new. Let's put Jack Porter or whatever. Porter amount $2. Company. Okay, United. 1. Right? See, please enter amount greater than 2. This is why validation rules are important. It ensures the data integrity. Imagine if there are no validation rule. I could easily get by putting 2, right? Yeah, it's possible, right? Because that was just happening before. You could pretty much enter any amount you want. Now I have a business requirement in place that none of the beer sold should have a base price less than or equal to $2. So that's exactly what I've implemented, right? So the validation rules are very handy. So also, one more thing you need to keep into consideration, right? So when you are doing a data import using a data import wizard, as I've demonstrated in my previous lecture, that please make sure that you turn off your data validation, right? If you wanted to have the proper every data imported. That being said, it's very important to check the authenticity of the data before you import. Let's say you are importing porter beer, right? Using an Excel document from an other system, right? Let's say you are migrating your software from XYZ software to Salesforce, and you have created this custom object called porter beer, and you have an Excel document which you'll be using with the help of data import wizard to import, let's say, 5,000 records, right? So now if you have a porter amount, base price is $1, $2, $4, right? Right, and your company requirement is the porter base price should never be less than or equal to 2. You cannot turn off the validation rule in that case, because it's very essential the validation rule to stay. Because the reason when I said that you need to turn off your validation rule if you are okay to import the data as such, right? That's your business decision. I can't tell you that whether you should be turning it off or not. You need to consult your business analyst or who are in your organization, right? It's a business call, because if you turn it off, you will risk getting the data as such, right? And you can't guarantee the data consistency or data integrity, right? So that's why validation rules are very handy. Also, the formula fields, right? As I said, formula fields are read-only, so you can't import to a formula field, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. So today we looked at 3 things, right? One is the formula field, which was very interesting, very easy thing, and roll up, where we had a few hiccups, right? Where for some reason that it was not getting displayed, which never happened to me though before, which is a bit strange, because I use roll up summary field most of the times in my production work when we're dealing with the clients, because sometimes they wanted to see a roll up summary, sometimes they don't. So right, I've used that for many times, like zillions of times, but this was very strange, at the same time very interesting. So I'll show you how you can troubleshoot. So one of the key things you have to understand, that when you hit a problem, when you encounter a problem, please don't panic. Have a calm mind, have an open mind, troubleshoot, one at a time, one step at a time. You're like, I said, okay, it's not working. Let's look at a page layout. Let's see what's happening. Oh, that's not working. Let me see if I can log in as another user to, if that get displayed, so it was some kind of a refresh issue. It was nothing to do with the profile. Then I thought, okay, maybe the page is something, a page layout. I'm not looking at the right page layout, but well, that's not the case here either. So it was interesting, right? So then we talked about validation rule, right? So that's the, so I would say that these are very important topic for platform development. Even if you are not a developer, right? Even if you are a sysadmin or a Salesforce admin, then please make sure that you understand this concept, right? Because you will be expected to know these things, and because it do not involve any code. A formula is not a code. In my opinion, because I've been coding for years, right? So I don't consider formula as a code. It's not a code. You're not writing a code. It's just you're adding, joining together a few stuff together, which is very powerful. And I appreciate that we have this amazing feature in Salesforce, right? So yeah, that's all I wanted to cover today, guys. If you guys like my video, please like, comment. If you think that, oh, this video is shit and garbage, I don't mind. Please write that as well. I appreciate your honest feedback, right? If you like my channel, please subscribe. I usually am not a marketing guy, so, but yeah, I mean, I would like, it will actually help me to put more content. My main interest is to educate you guys on Salesforce. I've been working on Salesforce for some time, and I've done different things on Salesforce. You know, I mean, I'm not going too much detail as such, because platform development one, it's a simple developer certification. As you go further up to an architect level, the things get a bit complicated, right? So, but I try my best to cover as much as I can, give you real life scenario and hiccups, you know, give you an experience about troubleshooting like I gave you today, right? So, right. So that's all I wanted to cover today, guys. I hope you're having an amazing day, and take care. Bye.